welcome to a new episode of Pat's Chat. Today, I'm very happy to have image and perception coach Ranukka Singham with me. Hi, good morning, Ranukka. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing well. What about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Very happy you're on the show. Thank you so much for your time. When I was looking up your backgrounds, I came across your name, Ranukka Singham, Indian related last name, but then you speak Chinese and Hokkien. Let us know a little bit more about your background, your roots, and also your name, please.
All right. Okay. So my name, Ranukka Singham, is a very typical Ceylonese name. So my dad originates from Sri Lanka. And my mom's Chinese, so I'm biracial. Hence why, it's always the case where I look, I think some people say I look mega Chinese, but my name is just as typical as it is, right? So Singham means lion, and that's my family surname. Yeah, and Ranukka, I don't know, someone told me that it means goddess of earth. I'm not sure. But yeah, like I was sharing with you in the earlier part, my name has been butchered many, many times in various ways throughout my years growing up. Yeah, and I'm on a mission to get everyone to pronounce it right. And you're doing it well though, Patrick.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for your help.
So that's basically why.
I saw the first name and I looked it up, but it was only with 1K, so that was a bit special. I thought maybe it's
Yeah, because I think my grandparents, they believe a lot in astrology. So, when I was born, according to the time and stuff like that, this was the perfect spelling of my name. That was how it happened.
Okay, very interesting. So Malaysian, but with Sri Lankan roots. That's very interesting.
Sri Lankan and Chinese. Yeah, okay. But I am a Chinese so which is why I speak Mandarin and not Tamil.
Okay. And I saw you were you have a bachelor's degree in optometry, that has to do something with eyes. I know that. How does how did you get motivated to learn that? What was the idea of that?
I think in the beginning, I already knew that wasn't the path for me. However, growing up in a very Asian family, it's always that fact, if you have good grades, you should go for something health science related, whether it's a medical doctor or, anything within health science faculties. So that was the direction that my parents kind of paved for me. I didn't really have much choice in it. Yeah. Okay, I think in the first year of the degree itself, I already knew that I wasn't a big fan of it, but I just powered through and see how it could take me. Yeah.
Okay. So it was not your target to become an eye doctor or something like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not that talented in that aspect.
But still, after your studies, you joined medical or pharmaceutical companies. I saw you work with J&J, with Alcon. You still were in this area, right? Was that just a nearby thing, or what was your interest in joining these companies?
Oh, okay. So the usual path after you've done optometry is to practice. And I knew then maybe in my third year, I guess even my lecturers told me that they said your strength is you could talk your way out of things, but I don't think you're that talented in, doing the eye refractions and stuff. It was really painful to hear, but now looking back, I think they were just honest and it helped me. So when I graduated, the first thing I thought is I didn't want to practice, but I still wanted to do something related to the industry. So I went into Johnson & Johnson Vision Care, which is the department that handles contact lenses. So I started my career from there. Yeah, but predominantly I did a lot of training. So that gave me a lot of practice in public speaking, things like that.
Okay, so you started like more in the training departments already, less in the medical
the
devices,
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Exactly.
Alcon is also about lenses, right? And
Correct. Yeah. So it's contact lenses, and they have also eye drops. So that's really something that's very popular, sustained eye drop. So that was like the division that I was under, taking care of the technical aspects of the products, training people on that, troubleshooting. So still very people-centric, but very, you know, the topics that I talk about are very dry in that sense. Oh my God, I hope my ex-colleagues are not listening to this. It would be really bad.
I think it's okay, right? It's your past. I found it funny because in one podcast you clearly said that one of the company you joined was the wrong company. Well, it was a wrong company, to be precise. It was a wrong company for the job, but it was the right one because you met your future husband in that company.
Yes.
So it was still
exactly.
So it was still worth it to join. But what was the reason why you thought that was the wrong company?
I think it was a mismanage of expectations. When I joined in, it was a startup, the company I joined, and they were trying to kind of digitalize the optical industry. So, I mean, conceptually, it felt like it was really something interesting, and I wanted to be part of that. But when I went in, I realized that my job scope was still very much offline. So I decided, you know, in that case, perhaps I wanted to go for something that had better job prospects for my future. And coincidentally, Alcon offered me in the first month that I was in that company. So that's why, you know, it was a no-brainer. I joined Alcon, but I think when I was in that company, I told my future husband, I said, you know, I have this policy of not dating my colleagues. So that's that, like, you know. And the minute he heard from HR that I tendered my resignation, he went like, okay. So we're not colleagues now, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. He grabbed the opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Interesting. In Alcon, you had the role of affairs manager.
Yeah.
But you're still related to training at that time, or what is it exactly that a affairs manager does? Can you?
All right. So it's basically professional affairs does a lot on two aspects. One is, you know, training the trade, that means the eye care practitioners on the products, and the second function is also to manage our KOLs, so key opinion leaders that would be promoting our products. That's also part of my portfolio in that matter. So it's kind of like if you may, it's PR and training. Yeah, that's what I do in Alcon for 4 years.
Okay, and you mentioned once the challenge was basically you were young, you were like the newbie, right? And you had to teach like very experienced older people also. How did you work with that challenge? I mean, how did you like improve or overcome like this challenge?
Well, I think because of that kind of environment that I was in, I had no choice but to really be the subject matter expert of the product. So, like example, you know, before we do a training, when a new product is launched, we were always given a brief to read through before we do the training. But in my case, because I was at that point very young compared to the audience that I was teaching, I had to really research even more so that they would not be able to question me in things that I would not have any idea on. Yeah, because I realize sometimes, you know, audiences, they ask questions, not particularly because they want to know the answers, but maybe how you answer it, right?
to challenge you on that, right? To see if you know your stuff.
Exactly. So mean. But that's the situation.
Yeah, it's kind of mean, right? But okay, they have to try it, right? Yeah. Okay.
It's a test.
Interesting. So you were more than what was that, like 8 years, 9 years in corporate environments, including the startup, I would say. But then you decided to launch your own company, Image Revamp Consultancy, right? That's the correct name.
That's right.
What were the triggers for that? Like what was the moment that you said like, oh, I want to do this stuff on my own. It's better than like being hired.
Right. I think it was a push factor more than a pull factor. I think at that point when I was in corporate, I spent 9 years in corporate, right? And I realized that, you know, if I was not happy at the position I was in, and if I go to a different position, it's kind of like a same place, different vibes, you know, it's about the same thing, right? And I took some time to reflect, do I really like what I do, you know? And I knew immediately the answer was not so much. The perks were great. I think I was quite well paid for my age at that point. But I realized very quickly that, if I continued on this way, my mental health would be greatly affected, because I go to work every morning. In the morning when I wake up, I dread going to work. And then I started looking back into, like, my passion in the past when I was younger. What were some things that I really liked doing? And I think I was a child who was very creative. I dance, I play the piano, I teach piano.
Wow,
I
okay.
love, yeah, I love transforming people. It's not so much like I love shopping, but I love helping people look good. That was just the gist of, like, my childhood. So I started researching a little bit about this, and I found this course online. I was like, oh wow, there's something like called an image consultant. So I was like, okay, you know what? I think I can do it. So let me just do this as a hobby. Let me just go for the course and see how it takes me. And and then I slowly took after I took the course, I did a few public programs just for fun. In the weekends, I rented a small place. In fact, the first venue I did it was my brother's empty apartment. So I just put the chairs in there, and I got like I think half of the people in there were my friends.
Mhm.
So so that was
your
how it
test
started.
objects, huh?
I know. I mean, like, and get this, right, Patrick? They paid for it. They paid to come for it.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's
So
great.
it was, I mean, amazing friends I get, right? So it really started from there. And then I realized as I went along, image as it is great. But I think what I was feeling that I was more passionate about was image from a corporate perspective. How do you help employees to kind of hone their skills that way? And so that's my direction right now. And that's how I ended up here.
Interesting. Yeah. You answered quite a lot of questions already, like how you started,
Oh.
who were your first people. That's awesome. I really love that. Love that story. So basically it was your hobby, right? And you figured out that's what you like to do. That's what you're passionate about. And eventually found like, okay, this is the way to go away from the eye care stuff.
Yeah, it's a very big change. I think when I left my job, I guess easily 95% of people told me no. Like they said that, I think it's a very stupid thing that you're doing, like throwing that all away. Mm-hmm. And if you come back again into this industry, you're starting back again from scratch. Are you willing to take that risk?
Yeah. But obviously it was worth the risk, right? You're doing well, and I assume when you say image coach first, I think most of the people would also think about like how you dress, right? And how you it's a part of the appearance. I heard in one of the talks that you gave that basically your approach is more the ABC, the appearance, behavior, and communication, which all flow together in the end to build your own image, right? But can you let us know a little bit more ABC, like this idea behind it, how you came up with that, and like how it's really related to each other?
Okay, so first of all, just to share, I didn't come up with ABC. I think it has been there all the while. But I suppose in the industry, when it comes to image consultants, a lot of them are probably more well known on the A part. So they do a lot of their work with the aspect of appearance, helping people with makeovers and whatnot. For me, I feel that, as times are, at these times and stuff like that, people are more woke, right? A lot of people would challenge me and say things like, how you look doesn't matter, what's your substance is most important and stuff like that. But they fail to realize that, when people first meet you, that's the subconscious judgment that people have of you, which is why appearance is still important. Why I decided to also focus a lot on behavioral and communication skill sets is because I believe very strongly in consistency. And if you're only kind of like making sure that you look the part, but you're ignoring the other aspects of your image, it's not going to gel well. And in fact, it'll be even more detrimental to your personal brand. So that's why I decided that, when I talk to people or organizations about image, I want to take care of all these three aspects. So in fact, this year I got myself certified as a behavioral consultant to just make it even more stronger in terms of in terms of like, talking about that aspect of things.
Mm.
So yeah, that's the basis of why I find it very important.
Yeah. And I think it
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. I mean, you just said
Mm.
if you come well dressed, but your behavior is a different one, right? That
Yeah,
that gives a kind of a weird image, also, right?
correct. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people don't realize that, during this time in pandemics and stuff like that, your video presence, like how you look in a video call, is image by itself already, because that's the first time people see you sometimes. And that itself it will carry a lot of weight. So it's not, because I think why I have to say that is that I get a lot of, you'll be surprised, Patrick, I get a lot of interesting personal messages after I post a content. I have a lot of these, keyboard warriors telling me lots of stuff. I'm not fazed by it, but the reality is that people would tell me, right now nobody sees each other physically, so what's the point, right? But yeah, but it's replaced with video, right?
True.
Yeah.
I mean, you can still see it in the video, right? But can you share some one or two example of what you just were referring to? What were the messages you're getting?
Oh, so example, when I say, the importance of presenting yourself right in terms of image, right, is so important, especially when people meet you for the first time, or when you're, in your day-to-day working in an organization. And I would get people texting me saying that, hey, no, we're not meeting each other physically anyway, so what's the point, right? Like, I don't think this is relevant. Yeah. So then I would always, share my thoughts on this, and I would say, hey, yeah, I get it, right? I'm not seeing anyone physically that much either, right? But I'm seeing people every day. In a day average, I have like 5 calls virtually. And that's also like that is also something that you need to be mindful of in terms of your image. Yeah.
I mean, basically, it's quite simple. The answer is you should dress like as you will go to office, right? I mean, you have your calls anyway, right? So at least the appearance should be the same as when you will go to office.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly so. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. How many times are you confronted with the question, what can I improve in my appearance? Just like people that you meet first time, and then I think like, oh, you're an image coach. So can I just get like a free, quick consultancy? I'm not asking you. I'm just asking you how many times you get that.
My goodness, I think on an average, 80 to 90% of the time. It's either right? That or sometimes I think in any kind of social settings, if I meet new people and if I tell them that this is what I do for a living, then everyone gets very uncomfortably like proper, like, oh no. And like some people even try to explain themselves, like, no, today I didn't know I was meeting you. Anyways, I came from home, blah blah blah. And I will be like, yeah, okay, just chill. For me, it's like if you didn't ask me, I wouldn't tell you. You know what I mean? So things like that.
Yeah, true. I to be honest, I was not especially careful today. Usually I wear shirts.
You know what, Patrick? I want to say, I feel that for your industry, like based on what you share with me, I think this look is okay. It's a very startup vibes.
Now you still give me feedback. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. But maybe that is a good question. I mean, I had this discussion in the past often, right? And like what you just mentioned is like, okay, you want to represent a certain image, right, of yourself, and like the first time you see someone is like this first image that someone gets from you, right? And but I mean, if you, let's say, okay, I'm in IT, I'm in startups, right? The clothing is already different. It's a different image than you have like a banker that goes with a full suit with the tie, even, something. By the way, is that something that is still popular, needed, a must, or did that change over the past years?
I don't see it as an absolute necessity right now. So even when I kind of advise my personal clients on this, like, a tie is, it's not something that's really required at this moment, even if it's business. Yeah. My take, that's just my take. Okay.
Not needed, huh? Okay. The question basically I wanted to ask, the title just popped in my mind. So I had to get rid of it. Well, the question, of course, I have or I hear sometimes is like, okay, I know I go to networking events, it's business, like I should go with a business shirt and the suit,
The
right?
jacket and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But am I with that not like changing like who I really am, right? Because like if I have to do it, and I do it also, I have to admit it, right? Because it is just like, as you said, you have to kind of do it to get into this circle, to get the networking going, that people take you serious also, right? But aren't you changing like your, or falsifying your personality with that by doing
Right.
something that you don't really like to do, but just have to do it?
Right. I think that's actually a very good question. And I think this is also a question that many people have in their minds whenever they come across, you know, the need of having to focus on their image. I think the first thing I always do when I get clients asking me this is to get them to reflect, right, exactly what kind of perception you want people to have of you and how you can translate it into your clothing. So, example, right, if you say like it's a networking meeting and the dress code is formal, there's also means and ways to make that formal attire still be you. Like an example, maybe a startup owner could come in with like a nice white t-shirt inside and a blazer. That's also something that looks formal, but yet when you see someone like that, you know that this person is probably not in a very conservative industry. So there's still ways and means to go about it. But I think a lot of people are very hard on the fact that, hey, I don't want to lose the sense of individualism. Hence, I still want to stick to whatever that, you know, I like, right? But you have to understand, especially if you're business owners, that your audiences matter as well. So like understanding what your audiences essentially, if not bluntly speaking, like to see is also important to factor in. So like having that mix is very important, because I suppose what I see with a lot of younger generation is, you know, that sense of individualism, like, you know, I'll dress whatever I feel like, right? And this is me, take it or leave it, right?
Yeah, true.
And people will leave it lah, you know.
Yeah.
So I just feel like I understand that, you know what, and I also practice like a sense of individualism. There's a uniqueness of how I dress as well, but I still will not neglect the fact that, you know, I need to understand my audiences, right? Like what exactly are they like? How do I emulate that? Because that's also part of rapport building.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you're on your own, that's what you just said, like take it or leave it. And maybe customers will leave it, right? Then, okay, you just lose a potential customer. But what you do is like you consult on enterprise or companies, right? And so is there like a certain expectation, like from the bosses also, like what is the image or the brand of the company? And that should be represented, also by like the appearance, and of course, also the communication that you're also doing.
Right, definitely. So that's what we call into employee branding. So when we go into that, right, it's important to understand the company's sort of image and, you know, the perception that this company wants to have moving forward when any of their associates meet their clients. Because I think what a lot of associates fail to understand, or even sometimes I realize company senior management, is that your associates are a clear representation of your company. People always have a judgment or a perception, you know, a misconceived perception of a company based on the associates itself first. So that's why it's so important. Yeah. Now, when it comes to employee branding, unfortunately, I know I get a lot of resistance from associates, but for me, the company's direction takes precedence, not your individualism. So when I train, I would train on that aspect. But, you know, I would still teach people on, like, you know, how you can stand out. But that's not my main priority when I teach them. It's more of like, how do you kind of conform to this particular image as per what your company's direction is.
Yeah. Okay, and understand. Yeah, very interesting. I saw an interesting term that you used. You used data-driven employee branding.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more, because like I'm a bit of a data guy, right? So what do you mean by data-driven employee branding?
I'm so glad you brought this up, because I'm really I'm really passionate about this, and I'm very proud of the fact that we also have this as part of our products. So just a bit of background. When I was working in Alcon, one part of what I do is also market research. We needed to understand what are some of the experiences that the consumers are having with our products. So while I was doing this, I realized how important these kind of informations are. And so I used the same kind of concepts in my products. So I have a market research wing in my business, where before I suggest any kind of products to the company, I actually help them to run a market research to understand what are their consumers' expectations towards their company. Yeah,
Wow.
and from those data,
Okay.
so from those data points, I'm able to kind of gauge a better, more customized product or program, for that matter, for this company. Yeah, so that's
Interesting.
something that I do.
It flows back, right? Like
Yeah.
basically what the customer is expecting goes via the brand and then the employee branding also.
Yeah, exactly. And I always share with people that, data is so important when it comes to, training or learning and development, because if not, and I understand that a lot of companies do T&A, right? Training needs analysis. But again, training needs analysis could also be coming from an assumption base, right? It's assumption by the person in charge that this is the needs and requirements of their department. But I think the best data that you should be getting is from the horse's mouth, the consumer itself, right? What really do they want? That's a better gauge of what you should be doing.
Understand. Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Let's take one of the aspects, the communication. We didn't talk too much about it for the moment, but let's take this as a last topic. My question would be, how would you see like communication changed over the past 10 years where you did training? I know you didn't do training on communication first, but you still have like the idea about it, and maybe even during the time that you run your own company, how did the behaviors or the communications behavior change over that time?
You mean to say like the requirements of my clients, or
more like the style? If you see something different, if you consult differently now than at the beginning when it comes to communication?
Oh, you mean like how I consult my clients in terms of my way of, definitely different. I think I suppose my personality is, I'm very straightforward, and it could have worked well in my corporate job. But right now, running my own business, I think there's also a sense of like compromise that I need to also learn. And also trying my best to see, the perspective of someone else, because my truth might not be their truth, right? So that's something that I am still learning, as time goes by. Sure. But definitely much better.
Okay. And what would you say, what is the most common, no mistakes, maybe flaws or things you have to correct or advise on? But is there things like that you see a pattern that is like in every company, in every employee, in every person that you see is like, wow, you have to work on this one first?
I think it's definitely mindset first. I know this sounds very cliche, but I suppose I always feel really, it's such a pity sometimes where companies don't realize the importance of image. When it comes to whatever training needs that they require in their organizations, unfortunately, branding is never the priority. It's something that they feel that they can go well without. So I always feel that, the one thing that I first, when I have an initial conversation with people is, to get them to change that mindset, because I think that really is something so important in an organization.
So it's like basically a normal change management process, I would say. Change your mindset first, and then you can work on the other things.
Correct. Yeah. And I think also like having proper guidelines in organizations. I'm really surprised that a lot of organizations do not have such things. And then when they realize, example, let's talk about appearance. That's an easier thing to imagine, right? If you don't have guidelines of like what really should be the case of people dressing to work, and then you see a variety of people coming in, creative like attires. I mean, don't be surprised about it, right? Because people don't know what exactly is the guideline, right? Where is the line there? Yeah, so that's something I also noticed. A lot of organizations that have come to me lack of such guidelines as well. Yeah.
I like the term creative attires.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's really creative.
I guess you have a lot of
I think
stories
I've
to
once
tell
seen a
about this.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, I think I once seen a guy, and of course he denies it. But I mean, I didn't call him out in the class, but I did like jokingly ask him during the break time. I asked him like, I mean, just out of curiosity though, like, is this your pajamas? Like, you can be really upfront with me, right? Yeah, because yeah, that particular organization had a smart casual flexi dress code. So I was like, is this your pajamas? Because I feel it looks too comfortable, you know what I mean? And he's like, no, 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 this is athleisure. It's like, okay. But I'm really sure it's pajamas.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ranukka, for sharing all this experience and stories and your knowledge about ABC appearance, behavior, and communication. Maybe to finalize, what is your number one recommendation, an absolute like no go that everyone should just like be careful or take care nowadays?
Nowadays, okay, that's a very apt question. I would say make sure that there is consistency between your online and offline brand. Because I think what I realize now is that a lot of people look a certain way on social media, but when you see them out of social media, it's an entirely different thing, right? So, I mean
Okay.
that's not great. Yeah. So just make sure that there is such consistency. Like make sure that it is translated in both ways.
Okay.
Something that I would really want people to think about.
Sure. Great. Thank you so much. I really like that.
Thank you.
Consistencies between online and offline appearance, right? That's what you said.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ranukka, for your time.
Thanks for
I
having
really
me.
appreciate that. Yeah, it's very nice talking to you. I hope I can see you soon, like somewhere offline, let's say.
Oh yes,
You can
yes,
see, and you
definitely.
can judge my same appearance offline and online. And thank you very much. Thank you very much to
Okay.
the audience for watching that. I hope it was helpful and insightful for you too. And then I see you next week for another episode of Pat's Chat. Thanks and have a great day.
All right. Thanks, Pat. Bye.